Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Our mission today, well, it's to dig into this detailed report we've got here. It's an excerpt covering the final WWE SmackDown show before Money in the Bank, the one that went down June 6th.
From Bakersfield, California. And this report, it lays out all the key segments, the matches, some interesting backstage stuff too.
Exactly. So we're going to cover the big confrontations, maybe some surprising turns, and really look at how this episode set the stage, not just for Money in the Bank, but maybe even beyond.
And you really need to stick around for the ending described in this report because, wow, there were power plays, hints of betrayal for sure, but the very end, it was a massive, unexpected shift.
Completely. Let's unpack this.
Right.
So you'd think the final show before a huge event like Money in the Bank, it's mostly about, cementing things, right?
Yeah.
Finalizing the picture.
Yeah, maybe adding some last-minute hype. But what this report suggests is that SmackDown it tossed a grenade into everything, especially those final moments.
That really is the biggest shocker detailed here. The show ends, according to the source, with WWE Champion John Cena making a move nobody saw coming. Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso are in the ring.
Right, after dealing with Paul Heyman's group.
And then Cena's music hits. He comes out, and the report specifically notes mixed reactions. Those John Cena sucks chants. Still a thing, even for the champ.
Which is interesting in itself, but then what happened next? Just floors you reading it.
Totally. The report says, while Cena's doing his usual entrance routine, Logan Paul, out of nowhere, attacks Cody and Jey.
And here's the kicker. John Cena joins in.
Yeah. He gives Cody Rhodes an attitude adjustment. And Logan Paul follows up, hits a frog splash on Jey Uso. We're talking the WWE Champion and Logan Paul together, feeding down two top fan favorites.
It's stunning. And this wasn't just a beatdown for the sake of it. The source highlights Cena's promo right after as absolutely critical.
What did it say he covered?
He apparently stated flat out, no one is coming to save you, talking to the fans, to wrestling. And he referenced something he's apparently been hinting at for months, saying, the idea of what you imagine WWE to be is being destroyed.
Wow. So leaning into this darker, almost antagonistic role.
Completely. And then, according to the report, he laid out his plan. He said he'd take the title home, keep it, but crucially, he'd pass the torch to the future.
And did he say who?
He explicitly named Logan Paul, called him the future and final face of WWE.
Logan Paul, the final face of WWE, according to John Cena.
Yeah. The analysis in the source material frames this as more than just a heel turn. It's presented as a complete philosophical shift. Cena's saying he's actively tearing down the fans' idea of WWE and installing Logan Paul as the leader of whatever comes next.
And his parting words really hammered that home. Right?
Oh, yeah. The report quotes him calling the fans hypocrites and losers, saying, winners write history. A total break from his hustle, loyalty, respect persona, aligning himself completely with Paul, who often represents, that disruptive internet culture vibe.
It's a seismic shift right before Money in the Bank, creates a totally new dynamic for the main event scene. But as huge as that was, it wasn't the only major story unfolding based on this report.
Not even close. The sources also detail some really significant cracks forming in other areas, particularly within the Bloodline.
Okay, yeah. That story apparently kicked off right at the start of the show.
It did. Paul Heyman came out with his crew, Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed. Mixed reactions reported for them too. But Rollins, he apparently got right to the point.
What was their goal?
Control. Taking over the industry, as they put it, targeting everyone, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Sami Zayn. They see themselves as basically unstoppable. And predictably, that brought out Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, and JC Mateo, the current Bloodline.
And Sikoa fired back.
Yep. Claimed they could stop Rollins' group and that he was winning Money in the Bank. But the report really focuses on the verbal jabs that flew next.
Ah, okay. What happened there?
Rollins went straight for the weak points, questioned Sikoa's future compared to Braun Breaker's, hinted at betrayal within Solo's own family, looking right at Jacob Fatu.
And he said something specific, didn't he, the report mentioned?
He did. Called Jacob Fatu Solo's bitch. Straight up.
Okay.
Yeah. And according to the report, that immediately cranked up the tension. Fatu looked ready to explode. Braun Breaker stepped right to him. A real tense face-off between those two powerhouses.
Before Rollins' group just left.
Exactly. They just exited, leaving the Bloodline stewing, which set the stage perfectly for what happened next.
Right, because then Jimmy Uso runs out,
attacks the Bloodline members left in the ring, goes right after Solo. And this leads directly into the first match of the night described in the report. Jimmy Uso versus JC Mateo. Solo and Fatu are ringside.
And the match itself.
Decent length, over 11 minutes apparently. But the report emphasizes the finish and the immediate fallout. That's the key takeaway.
What was the finish?
JC Mateo accidentally knocks Jacob Fatu off the ring apron.
An accident?
Seems so, yeah. But it cost them. Jimmy Uso capitalizes immediately, gets a roll-up pin for the win.
Okay, Jimmy gets a win over the Bloodline, but you said the fallout was key.
Great, because the source notes the specific detail. A visibly angry Jacob Fatu leaves the ring alone. Mateo's yelling after him, but Fatu just walks off by himself.
So not just angry about the loss, but maybe angry at Mateo or the situation, showing dissension.
Exactly. That visual, Fatu abandoning his teammate after an accidental hit, speaks volumes about the cracks forming under Solo's leadership. It's a fracture playing out right there.
And the report had more on this Bloodline tension later, didn't it, backstage?
It did. A really interesting segment. Solo Sikoa and JC Mateo are talking. Mateo asks Solo if he still trusts Jacob Fatu.
And Solo's response?
Very telling, according to the source. Solo says the plan's not changing. Everything's fine if Fatu follows his lead. He says Fatu loves him, but then gets dismissive. Calls him not the intelligentest, not the smartest.
Wow.
And says Fatu looks out for himself, describing him as all gas and no brains.
That's pretty harsh considering Fatu's supposed to be his muscle, his family.
It is, but here's the absolute gut punch detail from the report.
Where is it?
Jacob Fatu was standing nearby. Around the corner, he overheard the entire conversation.
Oh, no. He heard Solo call him basically stupid and selfish.
Every word, according to the source. That single piece of info just completely reframes Fatu walking out earlier. It wasn't just frustration, it was potentially fueled by knowing his leader is undermining him behind his back.
Sets up a massive potential implosion there. Sikoa's arrogance versus Fatu's power, and now wounded pride.
Precisely. The source presents it as a major seed planted for future conflict. Sikoa claims family, but the trust clearly isn't truly there, and Fatu knows it now.
Okay, so huge developments with the Bloodline and that Cena Paul ending. What else did the report highlight? The women's division had some movement too, right?
Absolutely. Significant stuff there as well. We had Zelina Vega defending her women's U.S. championship against Piper Niven. The report calls it a Bakersfield brawl.
Any idea what that entails?
Not specifically defined in the excerpt, but it sounds like weapons were involved because Chelsea Green and Alba Fire interfered, tried to put Vega through a table.
Standard interference chaos.
Pretty much. But then Julia runs down for the save, attacks Green and Fire, uses a kendo stick, the bamboo sword thing, helps clear the ring. Vega hits a power bomb through the table on Niven for the win.
Okay, so Julia helps the champ retain, setting up a respectful challenge maybe.
That's what you'd think. But the report details a complete swerve. After Julia helps Vega win, she celebrates with her, raises her hand, and then just attacks her. Turns on her immediately.
Whoa, just like that.
Just like that. Laid Vega out and posed with the women's U.S. championship belt.
Okay, so Julia isn't waiting in line. She's making a statement.
Exactly. The source positions this as a major development, establishing Julia as an aggressive top contender instantly. Very impactful move.
And there was build for the Queen of the Ring, too.
Yeah, the report mentions Jade Cargill, Charlotte Flair, Tiffany Stratton, all talking about the tournament and the SummerSlam title shot prize.
Tiffany Stratton had a promo.
Yep, her usual Tiffy time stuff. Referenced winning Money in the Bank last year, becoming champ, planning to do it again with Queen of the Ring.
Setting herself up as a favorite.
For sure. And then Rhea Ripley also made her presence felt, interrupted things, talked about wanting in on Money in the Bank, missing being champion. This led into a 6-person tag.
Who was involved?
Ripley teamed with Stephanie Vacker and Alexa Bliss against Naomi. Julia, interesting partner choice there after her turn, and Roxanne Perez.
And the result?
Ripley's team got the win. The report does note one potentially interesting detail. Naomi apparently left the apron when Perez went for a tag late in the match. Could be something, could be nothing.
Okay. Something to keep an eye on. Now, going back to the men's Money in the Bank, LA Knight was involved in something significant, too.
He was. The report details this feud brewing with Aleister Black. Black had a vignette, apparently really angry, feeling Knight stole his spot in the Money in the Bank match.
So Black's got a chip on his shoulder.
Big time. Challenged Knight to a match, promised to take everything from him, but weirdly also offered to shake his hand if Knight won. Adds a strange psychological layer.
Interesting. And Knight's response?
He cut a promo, mentioned this being his third MITB match, felt like his time, and he specifically warned Seth Rollins, said Rollins would burn his hands messing with him. which led right into their match.
LA Knight versus Aleister Black. How did that go down?
Solid match, over 10 minutes according to the source. But again, it's the finish that's crucial, and it directly involved another MITB guy.
Let me guess. Rollins.
Bingo. Seth Rollins runs out, hits the stomp on LA Knight, causes the disqualification. Knight technically wins, but he's immediately laid out.
Just interference, or was there more?
Oh, there was more. The report describes a calculated, brutal beatdown after the bell. Black actually stopped Rollins from hitting another stomp initially.
Oh, so Black defended Knight.
Momentarily. But then, Braun Breaker comes in, huge spear on Knight. Bronson Reed follows up with a massive senton splash. Then Breaker hits another spear for good measure.
So it wasn't just Rollins, it was the whole group.
Yeah, Heyman's whole crew, making it crystal clear. LA Knight is a primary target for them heading into Money in the Bank. Fits their whole take control narrative Heyman laid out earlier. Knight's in their path.
Man, that's rough for Knight. Okay, so we've got MITB heating up, Bloodline issues, Julia's turn, the Cena bombshell.
Yeah.
Any other quick hits from the report? You mentioned other builds.
Yeah, just briefly. The King and Queen of the Ring tournaments were officially announced to start the following week. SummerSlam title shots on the line.
Standard tournament hype.
Right. And there were segments building another event called Worlds Collide. Featured Legado del Fantasma and also American-made Chad Gable's group setting up a match with El Hijo del Vikingo for the AAA Mega Championship.
Okay, so cross-promotional stuff.
Exactly. Andrade and Penta showed up to mock Gable, which led to them facing the Creeds in a tag match later.
How did that play out?
Penta and Andrade got the win. The finish involved Gable trying to interfere, pull Penta's mask, big disrespect in Lucha Libre.
Oh yeah, you don't do that.
Right. But then the AAA star, El Hijo del Vikingo, runs out, takes out Gable, helps Penta hit his finisher, the Mexican Destroyer, on Brutus Creed for the win. The report frames this as showing how these feuds are crossing over ahead of Worlds Collide.
Gotcha. Lots of moving parts.
Definitely. And just to hammer home their dominance, right after that match, the report says Seth Rollins' group stormed the ring again.
Attacking Penta and Andrade this time.
Yep. Laid them both out with multiple finishers. Spear from Breaker, Senton and Tsunami from Reed, Stomp from Rollins. Officials tried to stop them, but Heyman's crew just stood tall. Reinforcing that message from the start of the show, we run things now.
Which brings us full circle, back to that absolutely insane ending. Heyman's in the ring after that attack, right? Gloating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Megaphone in hand, declaring his group's dominance. The report even notes him calling the crowd Baker's bitches, proclaiming Rollins is a future, will be Mr. Money in the Bank.
That he gets cut off.
By Cody Rhodes first, then Jey Uso. They come out, confront Heyman and his crew. It sets up this big face-off, which the report notes pause for a commercial break.
Classic timing. And then they come back from break.
Cody and Jey are in the ring, tension's high, and that's when the Cena music hits, Logan Paul appears, the attack happens, Cena joins in, delivers the promo. The whole landscape changes in minutes.
Just recapping it is wild. So looking at this whole report, all these details,
Yeah.
What are the main threads we're pulling?
Well, you've got the clear power grab from Heyman's faction, methodically taking out perceived threats like LA Knight, and even interfering in matches related to other events.
Okay. Then the Bloodline implosion seems imminent. The accidental hit, Fatu walking off, and crucially, Fatu overhearing Sikoa's dismissive, insulting comments. That feels like a ticking time bomb.
Definitely. Then, in the women's division, you have Julia's shocking heel turn, instantly shaking up the U.S. title scene, plus all the positioning for Queen of the Ring, and even Rhea Ripley eyeing Money in the Bank itself.
Lots happening there. And then, overshadowing almost everything, that completely unexpected Cena-Logan Paul alliance, with Cena explicitly stating he's destroying the fans' idea of WWE and anointing Paul as the new face.
Yeah. These specific moments and details from the source material, they don't just build hype for Money in the Bank. They fundamentally alter the stakes, the alliances, the entire feel of the main event picture.
We've really dug into this report today, looked at the power shifts, the brewing betrayals, and obviously that jaw-dropping heel turn that reset everything for Money in the Bank and beyond.
It definitely paints a picture of a company in serious flux right now, with some very unexpected figures suddenly at the forefront.
It really does. And it leaves you thinking about Cena's final words in that report. Him saying he's destroying the fans' idea of WWE, passing the torch to Logan Paul, the future and final face, based purely on what this source material described, his actions, his words. What does that future actually look like? How does this alliance change everything going into Money in the Bank?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Something the next few weeks are bound to explore.
Indeed. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the final SmackDown before Money in the Bank.
Always a pleasure.